Welcome to Awesome Movie Year, the podcast where we take a look back at an awesome year for movies, which is every year. I'm Josh Bell, film critic and writer, and I'm joined by my co-host.
I'm Jason Harris, filmmaker, comedian, and oompa loompa doopity doo. We've got a podcast ready for you. Oompa loompa doopity dee. Let's all go to the chocolate factory.
All right.
That was good.
Very impressed with your songwriting skills and really some of your best singing, I feel like, as well there. So
Awesome. I'm just looking to improve every day, baby.
I think you've done well there. And clearly, from Jason's song, you can see that in this special
Fern Gully
bonus episode for our recently or not so recently, depending on when you are receiving this episode, concluded season on the films of 1971, we've got Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And this is one of the movies that came up the most often when we asked, before we started the season, we asked people, what are some of your favorite films from 1971? And so we decided it's also just a huge pop culture sensation. It remains so, as we'll talk about, to this day. So we figured we didn't want to leave 1971 without talking about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So that's what we're going to do.
I think, Josh, we had two movies that were like more mentioned than any others. And you know what, Josh? We're here for the people. This is the People's Podcast. We're going to bonus them both out for you.
Yeah. Well, it's our podcast. Don't get it wrong. Don't get cocky, people. We're going to choose. But
sorry, guys.
We are happy to do some coverage, some episodes on movies that hopefully people were excited to hear about. And I think all of us were interested in talking about this movie as well. So it wasn't just the people, or we're part of the people.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've gone on record a few times on this podcast as saying like Gene Wilder's as good, if not the single best comic actor in film history. So, and this is the signature role, I would say, for him. And if you ever watch any other of the Wonkas, which I've done, no one can touch this guy.
That is true. I would agree. I've also watched other Wonkas, and I think that it's a definitive portrayal
that's the
of
word.
This character. Absolutely. Yeah. So this is, of course, based on the novel by Roald Dahl, which was already a beloved children's book, having been released in the 1960s. And interestingly, I love this. Like, this movie is beloved now, and I think generally regarded as high quality, and was at the time as well. But it was made primarily financed by the Quaker Oats Company to promote their Wonka candy. And so this is sort of, in a way, the 1971 equivalent of like the Lego movie, which is also very good. So I had not, for whatever reason, despite having seen this movie many times and knowing a lot about it, I did not know that aspect of the background until looking that up for this episode. And
Me neither. What do you think of a Wonka bar? They're not very, it's not like Gobstoppers, right? You can always find a Gobstopper, but you can't find the Wonka bars that often.
I don't know if I've ever had a real Wonka bar and how prevalent they are. I know that Quaker Oats was so successful with this that they renamed their candy division like the Wonka Candy Company. And so I think I've probably eaten other candies that are produced by that company. But I mean, a regular real Wonka bar is just a chocolate bar. I think it's not as special as it is in the movie, right? There's no real Willy Wonka.
But the point is that it's the best chocolate.
But is it?
Chocolate bar. In the movie it is.
Yeah, but in reality, is it?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't really. I don't know if I've ever had a Wonka bar either.
Yeah, I don't know that it is. So
I've eaten a few Oompa Loompas in my day, though.
Jason just casually dropping the cannibalism here. So whatever the reason, though, good on Quaker Oats for financing this film. And it's not the kind of movie where you watch it and you think, oh, this is just an advertisement for something. Like, you wouldn't even know necessarily that there was a real Wonka bar going on if you watch this movie.
Yeah, much better than their other effort, Oatmeal Man and the Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, I want to see that one. Unfortunately, it was not a big hit when it was released. It grossed $4 million on its $3 million budget. So, like a tiny profit, maybe, depending on costs for advertising and stuff like that, but not, I'm sure, what they were hoping for, especially based on a novel that was so popular. it was nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Score, and Gene Wilder was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Actor, Comedy or Musical, but did not win either of those. And it seemed like it kind of took a while to get to the level that it's at now, where it is this universally acknowledged kind of beloved kids movie.
Yeah, but I mean, we've talked about this with the video store stuff and everything. And this one, I'd say even before that, with all the televised airings of it. Josh, I thought that Gene Wilder should have got an Oscar nod for this.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we talked about in previous episodes, and I've already forgotten who were the nominees for the Oscars that year.
Gene Hackman won for Popeye Doyle, French Connection. Peter Finch, who's, these are all great actors from Sunday, Bloody Sunday. I've never seen that. Have you?
No, I haven't either.
Walter Matthau is Koch. I haven't seen that one.
No.
George C. Scott, another great actor in The Hospital. I don't know that one.
Me neither.
And our man Chaim Topol for Fiddler on the Roof.
Right.
So, you take out one of the legends, whether it's Finch, Matthau, or Scott, and you throw in a little Gene in there, I'd say.
Yeah, would he be Best Actor or would he be a Best Supporting Actor? Because one of the things about this movie that I think I had forgotten is that Willy Wonka doesn't show up until like 45 minutes into the movie.
I think he's still got to be Best Actor because he controls so much of it. And he is once he does show up, that's who you're looking at the whole time.
True. And they did rename this movie. The book, the Roald Dahl book, is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but the movie was renamed for Willy Wonka. And there's a number of sort of various justifications for that. And it's unclear exactly what the reason was. But you can see watching the movie, like you were just saying, Jason, that one of the reasons clearly is that Willy Wonka is the focus. And you're right. Once Gene Wilder shows up, everybody's paying attention to Willy Wonka and not little Charlie.
And I got to say, credit to the filmmakers, because it's not like those first 40 minutes are boring or bad. Like, they do a good job of building up and, kind of ramping up your interest. And there's some really funny stuff and good character work in those first 40 minutes.
Yeah, there is. Again, I think I had forgotten how long it takes for Willy Wonka to show up, but it's not boring or bad until he does. I think it's, maybe it could have been tightened a little bit, but, reading online, it looks like there was even more potentially in that section of the movie that they ended up cutting out. So it certainly it shouldn't have taken any longer to get to Willy Wonka, I think. But yeah, there's some good, memorable songs. The performances are good, all of that stuff. It's still compelling to watch and fun leading up to Willy Wonka's appearance. Mel Stuart is the director, and Roald Dahl himself is the credited screenwriter, although it seems like he didn't really write most of the screenplay. David Seltzer was brought in to do most of the writing, and Roald Dahl ultimately was not happy with this movie because of the changes it made to his book. I read the book when I was a kid, and I don't really remember the details of it, but I liked both. So I feel like people are generally satisfied with both.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote down a list of changes. The Slugworth character is an interesting one in that he was kind of a minor character, a rival in the book, and now he's kind of Wonka's spy. The biggest change to me is, and it doesn't work at all for me in this movie, is the fizzy lifting drinks scene, Josh.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe we'll talk more about why that kind of ruins the whole concept of the plot.
Yeah, it really does. Like, it totally takes you out of the movie. But yeah, we should save that.
Yeah. So anyway, either way, Roald Dahl was not happy, although I'm sure he was happy with all the checks that he got over the many years that this movie was, as you said, aired on TV and whatnot. Critics were generally relatively positive about this movie. Roger Ebert said, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is probably the best film of its sort since The Wizard of Oz. It is everything that family movies usually claim to be but aren't. Delightful, funny, scary, exciting, and most of all, a genuine work of imagination. Willy Wonka is such a surely and wonderfully spun fantasy that it works on all kinds of minds. And it is fascinating because, like all classic fantasy, it is fascinated with itself. It doesn't cut corners and go for cheap shortcuts like Disney. It provides a first-rate cast, a first-rate production, and, I keep coming back to this, genuine imagination.
Well, that's why, this works so well, is everyone leans in so hard to it. And, from Wilder to the production design to the music. It's all, they're all so committed to it, right? So it's either going to be a crash and burn or a glorious, wonderful piece.
Yeah, I mean, I think the imagination aspect of it is important because especially Roald Dahl, and I read a lot of Roald Dahl books when I was a kid, he has all of this fantastical, whimsical stuff, and it's hard to capture the right tone. And there's a number of Roald Dahl adaptations that don't. And
these further Wonkas that we've already mentioned.
Yeah, that is true. So they do it really well here, and the production design and just some of the decisions you read, like, at one point they were planning to make the factory look more like an actual factory. And of course, that would have been the total wrong choice. You want it to look all crazy and colorful and weird the way that it does, and like no real factory ever would look. And all of that kind of stuff is perfectly calibrated.
I was actually thinking about it when I watched it. When they get into the chocolate room for the first time, is there a more iconic set in film history, right? You would think maybe Wizard of Oz, right? Once you get to that place where there's a yellow brick road. What's that place called, Josh? I don't remember.
I believe
and
Oz.
Who lives there? Who's there? I'm not exactly sure. But I mean, really, I think it's probably the best set. I really do think that in film history, you could argue that.
It is great. And I think it's that Wizard of Oz is a good comparison. The moment where Dorothy opens the door of her house and we shift from sepia to color, and it's just this like wonderful moment. And the color scheme doesn't shift here. Although you could imagine even a version of this movie that has the Charlie, those first 40 minutes in black and white and then becomes colorful. I think that would be a way to do it. But yeah, it has a similar effect when they go into that room.
Well, they did kind of do it, right? Because you're right. They don't shift the color scheme, but it's the first 40 minutes are, kind of a lot of dark industrial England. But more than that, the scene right leading into that is they're in that tiny little, kind of gray hallway. So they do give you that kind of monochrome feel before you get into the magic.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good contrast there. So Howard Thompson in the New York Times was not a fan of this film. He said, "The children have so few good films to claim as their own. Much as it pains us to say so, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is not one of them. Yes, it's clean. It's also tedious and stagey with little sparkle and precious little humor. The picture cries out for animation, not live actors. Bright colorations and a mercurial animated flow could have done wonders to Roald Dahl's story of a little boy allowed to tour a magic chocolate factory, with his character tested by a nimble chocolate impresario. Most of the picture looks exactly like what it is, a fairly elaborate project shot by an American company inside a Bavarian studio."
Howard, are you listening, Howard?
I think
you fucking missed the plot, Howard. You missed the fucking plot, guy.
Well, I was going to say Howard should be forced to watch that Tom and Jerry Willy Wonka movie that me and Josh both watched.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about that. The one point I could possibly agree with him on, but they weren't doing this in the 70s, is if it was animated, you would get a different, perhaps, caliber of voice actor to play the kids, right? You could have some more adults play the kids. That might be one of the weaker points of the movie. Some of the kids are not great actors.
I guess. I thought the kids were fine. And you're right.
Josh is defending kid actors.
I know. Amazing. But no, I did think that they were acceptable. They weren't necessarily great, but I thought they did what they're meant to do. I mean, other than Charlie, those kid characters are super one-dimensional and are meant to be. So
I think
you want
Charlie
to kind of
is too.
Slightly. You're right. Charlie is too. I'll take that back. Yeah. But I think you want slightly broad performances from those kids, and that's what they give. So, and you're right. In the 70s, an animated movie wouldn't have had a bunch of celebrity voices for kid characters anyway.
Yeah. So again, this is just based on what he's saying. This is the right way to do this as a live action. My issue with Charlie is just like, no matter what he says, it's just, where did you get this idea? Or how do you like that? It's the best thing I've ever had in my life, right? He's just so good, Josh. He's such a good boy, that Charlie.
He's not English though.
He's kind of English.
No, he's not. Not in any way.
He's a bit English.
He's American. He's 100% American.
And Josh, who were the original settlers here in America?
Okay, so
Native Americans, Josh.
Right. Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And I think, as you're just saying about that set, like, yeah, okay, it looks like it was shot on a soundstage, which it was, but in a great way. So does The Wizard of Oz. You know, you watch The Wizard of Oz and you can tell, oh, these are matte paintings. They look amazing. They're great matte paintings. You know, I don't think Mel Stuart thought, oh, people are going to believe we're in a real Willy Wonka factory. Like, it's artifice, but in a fun way, in a creative way. So
it's movie magic.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's beautiful. Like all that stuff. And it does have to have that kind of magical realism, you know, that kind of like juxtaposition of real world versus fantasy. So I don't know, man. Whatever, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
You got whatever, bro, Howard Thompson.
So finally, Tony Mastriani in the Cleveland Press was mostly positive. He said, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is a non-Disney movie that out-Disneys Disney. It has a higher degree of imagination going for it than similar films. And while it sounds overly sugary, the story and some of the characters have a bite to them that will keep you from going into insulin shock. Roald Dahl and the movie makers have tried to keep the movie working on several levels. Satire for the adults, fantasy for the kids, or maybe the other way around, and music for everyone. The music level is the one at which it works least well. Leslie Bricusse and Anthony Newley have provided an all-purpose score that is pleasant without being catchy or memorable.
The song that I didn't need in there was the mom singing about Willy Wonka, not Willy Wonka, about Charlie and how his life's going to change for him in the first act. That didn't really kind of fit the rest of the movie to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and that's not even a bad song. It just does seem like something that was almost padded there in that early stretch while we're like, where's Willy Wonka? Let's get to it. But I mean, as maybe we'll talk about more later, like at least two of the songs from here, Pure Imagination and The Candyman, have become like American standards. So I think it's wrong about to say that the music or the songs are not memorable. They are very memorable.
And we, of course, know the Oompa Loompa song.
You know. Yes, we do. As you, and that's another one. I mean, unlike those other two songs, like people aren't covering the Oompa Loompa songs very much, this podcast accepted, but people always remember them when they watch the movie and they're catchy and you sing them later on.
Oompa Loompa, Loompa dee bad. Dave stole a record store from his dad.
Oh, Jason. Nobody knows what you're talking about when you constantly bring this up.
Oompa Loompa, Loompa dee wild. Josh, please admit you're the father of that child.
Oh, boy.
Where does that even come from?
It's from the movie.
Yeah, the movie, the movie about paternity tests. I think, yeah, Willy Wonka and the illegitimate child. That's what we're watching here.
You got to own up to it at some point, Josh.
Yeah. So, Jason, when you were an illegitimate child, did you watch this movie?
Yeah, I think we've all seen this throughout the years as kids. When I revisited it with Scarlett a few years ago, my daughter, and it's delightful every time. Like, it's just a wonderful piece, save for a few things that, just notch it down just a little bit.
So did she enjoy it when you watched it with her?
Oh, yeah, we love it. We love it.
Yeah. Yeah. This was one of my favorites as a kid. And like I said, I was a big Roald Dahl fan. I read a ton of Roald Dahl books. And this was, for a while, like basically the only Roald Dahl kids adaptation that was available to watch, I think, until they made The Witches in 1990, I want to say. And so I loved this. And like I said, I loved the book and I didn't feel, as I can recall, annoyed or whatever at the changes that they made. And I dressed up as Roald Dahl to do a book report one time on his autobiography when I was in like fourth or fifth grade.
Oh my God. Do we have pictures of that?
I don't think so, sadly.
Dang. Dave's mom would definitely have pictures if Dave did that.
It was one of those things where like Roald Dahl does not have a distinctive style. So I'm sure no one knew what I was supposed to be. I don't even remember what I wore, but I did do a book report on his book. I think it's called Boy. That's his autobiography about growing up in England. So
I don't know that one.
Yeah, not one of his more well-known books, but that's how dedicated I was as a Roald Dahl fan when I was a child. So, Dave, did you watch this as a kid?
Sure, absolutely. Loved it as a kid. I hadn't seen it in quite a few years. I was really happy to revisit it.
Yeah, I think the last time I watched it was when the Tim Burton version came out in 2005.
Probably.
Yeah, so it'd been
Can't wait to talk about that dump of a film.
All right, Jason's got some thoughts on Tim Burton. Do you have anything else you want to say about the background of this movie, Jason?
I love this. Gene Wilder said he would do the movie on one condition, and it's when he makes that entrance, he gets to kind of walk out like a frail man with the cane. Here's what he says. When I make my first entrance, I'd like to come out of the door carrying a cane and then walk toward the crowd with a limp. After the crowd sees Willy Wonka as a cripple, they all answer to themselves and then become deathly quiet. As I walk towards them, my cane sinks into one of the cobblestones. I'm walking on, stand straight up by itself, but I keep walking until I realize that I no longer have the cane. I start to fall forward, and just before I hit the ground, I do a beautiful forward somersault and bounce back up to great applause. From that time on, no one will know if I'm lying or telling the truth.
Yeah, that's a nice little moment. I feel like maybe he's overemphasizing its significance, but it's a fun little thing.
It's a cool actor's process moment, I think, for him.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know if it would have been a make or break to do them. I'm glad they agreed to let him do that because it's fine to have it in the movie, and it would have been silly to have him not do the movie because of that. But I don't know that it's really the most significant moment.
I don't know it's significant, but it is iconic. We all know that entrance.
That's true. And they do repeat it in that wonderful Tom and Jerry movie. So it's something that people do remember. So we'll come back and talk some more of our general thoughts on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Welcome back to Awesome Movie Year in this special bonus episode for our season on the films of 1971. We're talking about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And Jason, do you want to start talking about why Charlie kind of sucks?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't really think. I mean, he's fine. He's such a good boy. But this is the thing that bothers me so much about this movie, right? Like, the whole movie is, and you know me, Josh, Logic Police Jones.
I do know
here,
that,
right?
yeah.
And you know exactly where I'm going with this, right? He follows the rules. He does everything right. When all the other kids break the rules, he's like, "You shouldn't be doing that." Mr. Wonka said, "Don't do that." We're never going to do that. And Grandpa Joe is with them the whole way. These kids, they're a bunch of baddies. We got to be the good one. And then they get to the fizzy lifting drinks, and Grandpa Joe says, "Hey, let's have some of these fizzy lifting drinks. Willy Wonka's not around. No one will ever know." And Charlie's like, "Yeah, no one will ever know." And he just reprimanded all these kids this whole time for doing this. And it's just an unnecessary, I mean, not only unnecessary, it diminishes everything we've learned about this character. It doesn't fit either of those characters. And it's all for a sequence that, while it looks cool, doesn't add anything to the movie. And in fact, I think really notches it down for me because it's such a lazy way of doing something.
Yeah, I don't remember in the book what happens in that scene toward the end when Willy Wonka says like, "Oh, you don't get anything," and then changes his mind. If he says, if there's some other excuse not involving the fizzy lifting drinks. But I agree. Like, literally the scene before or the sequence before is Violet Beauregard with the gum doing the exact same thing. Willy Wonka says, "Here's a new cool thing that I've developed, but it's experimental, so you shouldn't try it yet." And she's like, "I'm going to try it." And then she does. And, she turns into a blueberry. But the fizzy lifting drink, as you said, is the exact same thing. And it's the exact same consequence, right? They try it and the bad side effects happen, just like Willy Wonka warned. Like, that's why we're not supposed to try it. And there's no reason then, other than that he's the main character, that Charlie inherits the factory, spoiler, then while like Violet Beauregard, who really doesn't seem all that bad, doesn't. So I agree with you. It kind of breaks the moral of the movie, and it still is a kid's movie, and it does have a moral, even though it's not like beating you over the head with it per se. And we don't really get a reason why Charlie gets a pass for this and the other kids don't. Although I suppose it's implied that they all stole the gobstoppers, and that's the real thing.
I mean, I guess because he does give the gobstopper back at the end. I mean, the only thing I could think is like, well, you're the only kid who wasn't physically affected by your sin, so you get the chocolate factory. It's like, had he just flown out of the roof, they would be like, well, he's gone too, so we're not going to give it to him. But it's just so lazy, and the filmmakers know better than this. You can tell with all the detail that they've put in that they know that this is just a crutch to get them to where they want to go, but it doesn't make any sense. And, the character work, they work so hard on like creating these characters. And like you said, even if they're just like one shade, like that's the shade that they are. So this goes against all of that. And it just took me out of the movie.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I hadn't remembered how blatantly it breaks the rules of the story. And Charlie is one-dimensional, but his one dimension is being a good boy, as we've said, right? He's so self-sacrificing, and he's so sweet and nice and all of this stuff. And Grandpa Joe is maybe a little mischievous or whatever. I mean, he's the one who kind of eggs Charlie on to get the chocolate bars, and you'll be able to find the golden ticket and all this. But he's also supposed to be a good guy who respects Willy Wonka and everything, and he just encourages it as well. So yeah, that's a frustrating bit, certainly.
You would think like Willy Wonka would be like, well, I got to do this whole thing again because all of you kids failed, right?
Yeah.
So it just doesn't, I don't have any rhyme or reason for that. And like you said, Grandpa Joe, he's got a little kind of fun, wacky side. But again, like how many times is he saying like, that Mike TV is a rotten egg, or, Violet Beauregard, she's doing the wrong thing, right? Like, so it like, and then he's the one who's like, hey, Charlie, nobody's around. Let's drink a fizzy lifting drink. It's like, it just doesn't work at all.
Yeah. Well, of course, Grandpa Joe was a layabout for 20 years, allowing his daughter-in-law and grandson to work for his, everything for him, and then just got up and danced when it turned out he could go to a chocolate factory.
It was a miracle drug, that magic, that golden ticket. But yeah, that is true. It's like as my brother was saying, my brother Max is like, ooh, I'm bedridden, I can do nothing. Ooh, chocolate factory, doop, right? So
and this I guess is a common complaint about this movie. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a fair complaint. So.
Yeah, and in a way, right, it is all whimsical and it's magical realist or whatever. Of course, we're meant to understand that, in fact, that is what it is. The golden ticket does magically inspire or allow Grandpa Joe to get up and do a jig and go because he now has something to live for besides his own family, I guess. I don't know. We never find out in this movie what happened to Charlie's dad. In the book, Charlie's dad is alive and is hanging out with the family. But I guess,
and he's in the Burton remake as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. But here we assume he's dead or something. I don't know. We never really.
He's busy working at the toothpaste factory. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, no. I think if he was around and working, they would have said, because of course there's a lot of emphasis on how little money they have and how hard Charlie's mom has to work at the laundry. And Charlie has to do his paper route where he delivers like 4 papers in order to make some money.
Josh, you ever have cabbage soup?
No, I bet you have though.
Yeah, but more than that, I like kind of Chinese stir-fried cabbage. That's delicious and keto friendly, Dave.
It is. Yeah, you can make cabbage steaks. They're pretty good.
Yeah, they are good. Yeah,
wait, those aren't steaks made out of cabbage?
No, it's
kind of.
It's like if you have a mushroom steak, you're not eating a steak. You're eating a mushroom that is there to
mimic that is cooked like a steak. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do that with a cabbage?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to taste like steak, but you can season it cabbagey and cook it the same way and braise it and do all the fun things. So I actually love vegetables like that. So mushroom steak, cabbage steak, milk steak, tube steak. Yeah. Give me all of them. So.
All right.
Sloppy steak.
I'll stick with chocolate bars, I think, is more my speed. So
that is definitely yours. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so now we've said all these negative things. We should say, I think that we like this movie, though.
We all like it. Gene Wilder, iconic performance. I love that he's a real bastard to the kids. That's my favorite part. And he doesn't care when something bad happens to them. And if you watch his characterization of that versus Johnny Depp's, look, Johnny Depp was a great actor for a long time. I hope he finds it again. And like, this was at the height of Johnny Depp's powers, but like, it's not even close, what we're doing here. And same with Chalamet, who's great in other things too. But I think that's great. I think it's very funny and sardonic. The set design, the production design is, like I said, as good as anything in film. And you already mentioned, like, we come away with 3 songs that are going to be that are earworms that we'll know forever, right?
Yeah, the songs are really, really good. And I think the thing about Willy Wonka and Gene Wilder's performance, and maybe this is partly sort of seeing it for me at a formative time as a kid, but more, I think for me, far more than the humor of this movie, which is good, the creepiness of Willy Wonka and of Gene Wilder's performance is what really got me as a kid. And as I said on Letterboxd, I really think that loving this movie as a kid and watching it a bunch of times as a kid was hugely influential on my interest in horror movies as I got slightly older, because Willy Wonka was fucking terrifying in a good way, in a way that I was like intrigued by. He's so creepy. Like the office at the end, I always remember, where everything is cut in half for some reason.
Yeah.
That was like one of the most unsettling things to me as a kid. And because it's just wrong. It's not like scary, and but it's also not really whimsical. It's just like off.
I think that might have been a Wilder suggestion when they get to that. He just said, it's Willy Wonka's office. It wouldn't be normal. Let's just cut everything in half. And it clearly worked. You're still horrified by it.
Right. No, I am. And I think, I can watch this movie now and see the creepiness of Willy Wonka. And yeah, the idea that he just, and in a way that, I haven't seen the Burton movie since it was first released, so I don't remember. But certainly now I feel like you wouldn't make this movie where Willy Wonka would have to be friendlier. He would have to be more sympathetic. The Chalamet version is so nice. And you can't imagine him becoming the Gene Wilder character in this movie.
I agree with you. Like, that's the charm of it. And I don't know why we can't do it, because we know it works, right? So,
right.
We should give kids a little more credit that they can see in, the more than one dimension of characters. But yeah, when you say creepy, I want to be clear. Like, it's creepy in that he just doesn't give a fuck what happens to these kids. He's so secure with himself. He's like, yo, you're either along for the ride or you're not. Oh, too bad, Augustus Fatso Gloop. Now you're stuck in the chocolate tube. That's your own fault. And I love that about him. Josh, me and a comedian, Matt Markman, we have kids the same age. And one time we were at a park and we were talking, and this little kid, neither of ours, like, ran by us, fell in front of us, started crying, and we just looked down and at the same time just looked back up and and just went back to our conversation. And it was like, well, it's not our kid, one. So, and two, you can't even, like, even if you lend a helping hand there, it could go terribly wrong and everything. So you got to just do it. So it's like, to me, like, yeah, you got to treat kids like a little more maturely than a lot of kids movies do.
Yeah, well, you certainly don't need to convince me about not giving a fuck about the welfare of children. So
I don't mean that. I do obviously, I do care, but you know what I mean. So.
No, I know what you mean. And I've had, like, that I remember walking around, I don't know, downtown Summerlin or some, outdoor mall with my friend Lisa years ago, and all these kids running around and turning to her and being like, do you ever just get to the urge to, and she's like, yup. So we didn't even have to finish that thought. But yeah, I think that's true, is that, and to me in the movie, it's more than just that he doesn't care about what happens to these kids. Like, he actively wants them to be harmed.
Joy in
it.
But it's great because he doesn't overdo it, right? Like, if he was like clapping and cheering, it would be like, it's too much, right? So he's got that right level. A few weeks ago, my brother called me and we're talking, and, in the middle of the sentence, he just starts laughing. I just saw a kid eat shit on his bike. It was wonderful. There's great joy in these moments, Josh.
There is. It's so true. So true. So do you have a favorite bad kid?
I actually, it's not Augustus. I guess it's between Violet and Mike TV. Mike TV, who lives in the Southwest but has an incredibly New York accent for no reason. Veruca, she needs to go. She's got to get out of here. She's a lot to handle for me.
She is. Well, see, I would say on the one hand, my favorite is Veruca because she has the most distinctive presence, and she's the one who gets a song, which is also a really good song, I think. But yeah, she is the baddest, I think. She's the worst of the kids. Like, she's the one who you're really like, no, she sucks. Whereas the other ones I feel like are really not that bad. And some of the habits, that the Oompa Loompas sing about, like, is gum chewing really the worst thing in the world? Like, come on, people chew gum. It's fine. It's really not a big deal. So Violet Beauregard was the one where, and again, especially comparing to what Charlie does with the fizzy lifting drinks, where I was like, she really doesn't deserve what happened to her any more so than Charlie would have. Like, she could have inherited the fucking factory too.
Well, that's what I mean. That one beat undercuts the whole movie for us, right? But right. Yeah, I mean, that's fun when she turns into a blueberry and everything.
Do you think the problem with gum is that it stops you from buying more chocolate bars?
Right. Although she dutifully says, I'm going to take a pause on chewing gum to get some chocolate bars so that I can win a golden ticket.
Maybe it's the sanitary element of it, like how he doesn't want Augustus Gloop's hand in the river because it kind of, takes away the purity of it. Maybe if she's chewing the gum and it's, she's putting it on her hand and behind her ear and then she's touching stuff in the, maybe it's not that sanitary. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, again, that's just related to the chocolate factory, whereas I feel like it's meant to be a larger lesson, right? Like, Augustus is greedy. He's not just fat, he's greedy. And Veruca Salt is selfish and demanding. And Mike TV, I guess, I mean, he watches too much TV, which certainly none of us here could criticize, but also he's kind of inconsiderate watching the TV. He's, ignores other people or whatever. But I feel like gum chewing does not fall in that category.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if anything, the dad, Violet's dad, who's like Johnny Business, right? Like,
right, the car salesman. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like his only priority. Maybe he needs to learn a few lessons about life.
He does. And I mean, we get that a bit with Veruca, where the whole Oompa Loompa song is about how, like, if a kid is a brat, you should blame the parents, which is, I guess.
Well, I mean, part of that is definitely Veruca's dad's fault because he never tells her no, right?
Right, right. So. And that is part of it. So he gets some comeuppance too, right? He also falls down the garbage chute when he tries to go after her. So, and of course, at the end, we have a very disingenuous line from Willy Wonka, like, oh yeah, they're all fine. Sure. All totally fine. Don't ever ask where they went, but they're fine. And I think in the book, it's clearer. We see them afterwards that they're okay. So, but I like that, where you can watch this movie and you can think maybe Willy Wonka killed a bunch of children.
Maybe. We should talk about we've talked about Wilder, the other people who they were thinking about casting. Every member of Monty Python, which you could see like an Eric Idle or a John Cleese, like going totally hard at it. Yeah. Spike Milligan, who we saw in the bed sitting room. I don't think he has enough dimensions to him. But then I thought all three of these would have been really interesting. Joel Grey, Peter Sellers, Fred Astaire would have been off for me, but Joel Grey and Peter Sellers, I could see that working for either of them.
Yeah, maybe. But I feel like Peter Sellers, his whole thing is kind of like coming up with he's immersed in a character where he's going to do a voice and he's going to have a whole
Johnny Depp did.
Yeah, exactly like Johnny Depp. And so I feel like one of the reasons Wilder works is because he's just Gene Wilder here. And I will say also, one of the other effects of watching this movie so much as a kid and finding Willy Wonka creepy is that I still find Gene Wilder kind of creepy in every role that he plays.
I mean, he's just a genius. And we talked about this on the producers episode. Like, he is a master of characterization, like, without having to, in the form of Gene Wilder, right? And I mean, even when we did Bonnie and Clyde, those scenes are so memorable with him. He's just so funny because he never plays the joke. He plays it all seriously, right? And even when you see him do something bigger in Young Frankenstein, it's still the Gene Wilder version of that. So I just can't say it enough. Like, I think, like I said, he's as good as a comic actor as there's ever been on film.
Yeah, he's very good. And I think he's right. Not that those other choices couldn't have potentially worked, but I think he's right for it. And I think one of the big reasons is because he's not overplaying it. He's not doing a funny voice. He's not creating some sort of weird new character. He's just doing a guy, and a guy who is weird and creepy on his own. So,
but you can tell, like, what he has a clear vision. He makes clear choices as an actor, right? He's clearly put in the work to get to this point. So, like you're saying, the first 40 minutes, which we should talk about, they're all good. And then he comes on and then it just explodes into a whole nother dimension.
Yeah. I mean, those first 40 minutes are Charlie, like there's a lot of kind of satire, I guess, about the Wonka fever, the sensation of all the people around the world looking for the golden tickets, which all conveniently are found in English-speaking countries. But, that's fine. And so that's kind of fun. I mean, there's some mild.
I mean, in Germany they speak German. It's just that.
Oh, that's true. You're right. I take that back. Yeah, we do have one German.
No, I think the first 40 minutes. What I liked about it was kind of the use of media and the news reports and how that kind of heightened everything. And it was funny. There's a lot of funny stuff in there. We get to meet the 4 bedridden grandparents and the mom, and that's again iconic as well. So. There's a lot of good building till we get to the point where we're ready to go. You get the intro, which is interesting because we get the Candyman song there, which Sammy Davis, we know, turned into a #1 hit. But really, that's just there to kind of set the tone of like, hey, anything's possible with candy.
Right. And that is so true. So I also like Charlie's weird teacher, which is a fun
he's
character.
So wild, that guy, bro.
Yeah, who is having them do some bizarre science experiment, and then as soon as he finds out about the golden tickets, he cancels class. And that's the thing, right? Is that in this world, the adults are just as eager to go to the Willy Wonka chocolate factory as the kids are. And of course, the golden tickets themselves end up being found by kids. But theoretically, it could have been a bunch of adults going to the Willy Wonka chocolate factory. And we get the moment that I think is also not in the book, where they think the 5th ticket has been found by this gambler in Paraguay who is an adult. And then it turns out that he was faking it. But that's the idea, especially with the news reports as well, that this is something that everyone of every age is so excited to have.
There was a cut scene which sounded interesting, where an English explorer climbs a holy mountain to ask a guru the meaning of life. The guru requests a Wonka bar. Finding no golden ticket, he says life is disappointment, which I think would have been really funny, but it didn't test well. And a psychologist friend of Mel Stuart said, for a great many people, life is a disappointment. So
that is true. But I think there's enough. Like, that could have been funny. But I mean, we get that idea, especially we have the scene where the woman, her husband is kidnapped and she says, I will do anything to get my husband back. And they demand Wonka bars. And she's like, maybe not. Like, I feel like you get then that the idea that these adults are so fixated, they'll do anything. Yeah.
Josh, what's the most disappointing aspect of your life?
How long do we have? It's a whole separate
bonus episode.
Yeah, that's good. Bonus. Yeah.
I think we all know the most disappointing element of Rich Rosen's life.
We do, even though people don't know who Rich Rosen is.
I feel like if they don't understand what's going on, how Dave undercut his dad and stole his record store, his life's work, then they're just not paying attention, because we've referenced it enough at this point.
I'm okay if that's the case. You pay attention to the movie parts. So, Jason, do you want to rate this out of 5 golden tickets?
Yeah, sure. 5 golden tickets. I think it would have been a 4 for me if not for the fizzy lifting drinks, but I had to bump it down to 3.5 because of those damn fizzy lifting drinks.
I kind of agree. I would have given this 4, and I think I did on like Letterboxd the last time I watched it, give it 4. But some of that blatant like moral inconsistency, and it just kind of
it's laziness.
It is laziness, yeah. So it kind of, I mean, I still really like this movie, and I mean, certainly this is one of those movies that people watched as kids and just have no critical faculties about, but not that it's bad. It is good. I also give it 3.5 golden tickets. If you didn't see this as a kid, it is a movie that generally holds up, I think, to watch as an adult or to share it with your kids. And I still definitely enjoy it. Dave, how do you rate this?
I completely agree with you guys about the fizzy lifting drinks, but I'm going to stick with 4 because it's a classic. It's great.
Yeah, because Josh, I think like you're talking about the Grandpa Joe stuff. We can all just like of him being in bed for 20 years. Like we can all forgive that as like, okay, it's a kind of heightened world and this is the thing that got him out of bed, right? But like the fizzy lifting drinks is a bridge beyond here, fellas.
Right.
And I think, too far.
I think the thing with that is it is a heightened world, but you establish the parameters of your heightened world, and then that breaks those parameters.
Yeah.
I agree. And that's the problem, I think. So we're gonna keep hounding them on that. But we'll come back and talk about the legacy of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Welcome back to Awesome Movie Year in this special bonus episode of our season on the films of 1971. We are talking about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And this movie has a huge legacy. As we said, it wasn't a huge hit when it was first released, but because of home video and TV airings, and I think this happens a lot too with movies for kids, where kids glom onto them and they watch it over and over and over again, and then they grow up and it's beloved and they share it with their own kids. And so it has become, I think at this point, we would say not even a cult classic, but just a regular classic.
I think it's a regular classic. And I think a lot of that is because the Gene Wilder character is so different than what you see in kids' movies. And that shows, when you take a chance and do something unique or original and do it at an expert level, that kids of all ages can enjoy that, Josh.
Yes, they can. And Roald Dahl capitalized on the success of this film, or on the existence of the film at least. And his book sequel, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, which I did read as a kid, although I read the plot summary of it the other day and did not really remember any of those aspects. But that was released in 1972. And of course, this continued as a pop culture phenomenon. Tim Burton remade this film in 2005, and the prequel Wonka, starring Timothée Chalamet, came out in 2023. Jason, you rewatched the Burton movie and you had some thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, Wonka, we all saw, I think when it came out, it's the dude who did Paddington, and it's like, all right, whatever, it's a prequel. It really just tries to take the Cruella model and doesn't do it as well. The Burton movie is such a huge miss. And I think this is at the time where he started missing constantly, right? With Planet of the Apes and this. He makes all the Oompa Loompas one guy, kind of with all that stuff. And the songs aren't as good, but okay, that's fine. We can maybe forgive that. The Johnny Depp performance is just weird. It doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason other than it's weird. The biggest miss beyond all that is he took this. We know Tim Burton from Batman, from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, has the ability to take a set like a Willy Wonka and create this amazing, beautiful world. And instead, he goes the lazy CGI route, and it doesn't look good, and it takes you out of the whole thing. You're like, dude, you're Tim Burton. We could have this, and it could be so heightened and great, and it just kind of sucks. I did like Grandpa Joe in it. He was good in it. And Freddie Highmore was a good kid actor at the time. So I didn't mind the kids or the side characters, but it's 20 minutes longer than Willy Wonka. And it just loses all of the luster, I think.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since it was first out. And I went and looked at my review that I wrote at the time, and I gave it 3.5 stars, even though I had a lot of criticism. And I think it was just at a time when I was maybe less rigorous with my star ratings. It reads like a slightly lower rated review from me, but I certainly was giving Tim Burton a lot of slack at that time. And you're right, this is a period where he was really doing so many movies where it was just like, here's some IP and do a kind of Tim Burton-y thing with it, whatever, maybe Johnny Depp is in it. And, whether it was Planet of the Apes or this or Dark Shadows, and it is all kind of lazy. So I remember still being generally entertained because I'm sort of in the tank for Tim Burton in a lot of ways, but I bet I wouldn't like it as much if I watched it now.
I don't think you would. It is lazy. It loses a good bit of the humor in there. And it just feels like you're saying like it comes from like the Tim Burton factory as opposed to Tim Burton.
Yeah, no. And that was a lot of the movies that he made at that time. And I feel like with Beetlejuice recently, which had a lot more practical stuff, practical sets. It felt like he was, even though it was a recycling in a way of something he'd already done, it felt a little more like, hey, this is a Tim Burton movie where he's doing a Tim Burton thing and not just like running it through a filter or whatever. So
it's just so strange because, like I mentioned, those movies, like when you think of the worlds he's built, you know, Edward Scissorhands, this and that, like, why would he go this route with it when we know he's like the top-notch artist to do it the way it should be done?
Right. I mean, and maybe there was a long period where you think, well, maybe he isn't anymore. And I think a lot of people still think that. And I wonder how it'll go with his next films. But that certainly is not an example of his top-notch artistry. Dave, did you see that one?
I saw it back in the theater. I started to watch like the first 15 minutes and then decided to go a different route, the route that you and I both went.
I'm excited to hear about this. Tom and Jerry, what is the movie called, fellas?
It is awkwardly, for some reason, called Tom and Jerry, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And it's part of this weird mini trend where Warner Brothers decided, hey, we own Tom and Jerry. And we own some other stuff. Let's just put them together for no apparent reason and make shitty straight-to-video animated movies. So there's a Tom and Jerry Wizard of Oz. And I think there's a Tom and Jerry Sherlock Holmes, maybe. And there's a few others. And it's one part just like shitty animated remake of Willy Wonka with a really awful, you want to talk about how good Gene Wilder is. This will make you appreciate also Johnny Depp and Timothée Chalamet. Just an awful voice performance as Willy Wonka and a horrible design for all the characters, really. The animation is just atrocious in this movie. And then it's an equally shitty Tom and Jerry cartoon that goes on for 80 goddamn minutes. And they are just kind of like weaved in awkwardly to the Willy Wonka story. They make Slugworth a much bigger character as like a huge villain in a way that makes absolutely no sense for his function in the story because they keep him as this spy. And watching it, I wanted to, if I had more time, I would have taken screen grabs of all of the unbelievably dumb looking expressions on Charlie's face throughout this movie. It is astounding how much they make him look like he's sort of dim in various ways. So it's really bad, but I never really liked Tom and Jerry. And Dave, I know you're weirdly like a huge Tom and Jerry guy.
I mean, I wouldn't say a huge Tom and Jerry, but they do make me laugh, and even in some of their worst stuff. And it's an average Tom and Jerry cartoon. That's what I would call it. Like I still laugh plenty at their hijinks. But yeah, everything you said about it as an animated film, though, it looks so bad. And the voice acting is so terrible.
When did this come out?
It's 2017.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah. Interesting. Glad I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I know. You definitely made the right call. I was annoyed even. I got the DVD from the library and the DVD says it's 70 minutes, but it was 79 minutes. And just those extra 9 minutes really grated on me. So there's a bunch of other adaptations. Technically, you know, these are adaptations of the novel, but they're certainly all inspired by this movie version. There's a Broadway musical that has incorporated some of the songs from the movie. There's video games. Netflix now in I forget however many years ago bought the entire Roald Dahl estate, basically. So they own the rights to this along with everything else he ever wrote. And they've talked about doing a TV series that it would incorporate both of the Charlie books, which I'm sure would be a terrible idea, but that's probably going to happen. So Dave, did you ever play a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory video game?
No, I remember that there was one, but I never did play it. And yeah, I could just imagine the Netflix adaptation, how unnecessary it would be.
I wasn't thinking of it as a TV show, but I was thinking of the great successes that Wes Anderson had with the Roald Dahl adaptations. And I mean, when you think of a guy who would set design the shit out of this thing, that's the guy right there for you. So I think that might be an interesting but I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately this was going to be like an animated TV series about Charlie, which does not seem like a good idea. But I will say, as much as I hate Wes Anderson and really disliked those shorts, like to Netflix's credit, some of the stuff that they've done with the rights to these Roald Dahl books have been interesting, whether that's letting Wes Anderson do his whole Wes Anderson thing, or I thought Matilda the Musical was great. I like it more than the Danny DeVito Matilda movie.
I think you probably are right on that one. So, and I don't dislike the Danny DeVito one, but the musical is very good.
Yeah. So, I mean, those two things have been interesting projects. And, as I was saying, this kind of kicked off Roald Dahl adaptations being very popular. I like the James and the Giant Peach as well, the Henry
It's
Selick
good.
version of
It's
that.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know Jason disagrees, but I really like Nicholas Roeg's version of The Witches from 1990. And do you have any other favorite Roald Dahl adaptations, Jason?
I mean, I do like the Henry Sugar, the Wes Anderson one, and I know he did Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I'm kind of mixed on there. But the Matildas are both fun. I like both the Matildas, but I think James and the Giant Peach is probably the best one of the bunch.
Yeah, I mean, I rewatched a few of these because I did a Roald Dahl list article, and I rewatched James and the Giant Peach, which I hadn't seen in a long time, and I wasn't quite as into it as I was when I first saw it. And I might prefer The Witches as my favorite, but I mean, there's a lot of good ones. Certainly, those are all.
What about the remake of The Witches?
The remake of The Witches is not good with Anne Hathaway. Yeah,
that's very bad.
That's a miss. And there's other stuff like lesser known ones and Netflix I haven't seen, but this was actually the reason I wrote that article was because there's a animated movie of the Twits that came out on Netflix recently.
I watched that.
Yeah,
I think I watched that. It's not bad. That's the twins who live in the house and they have like I don't know if it's their aunts or they moved to a different house. I don't remember, but it wasn't bad.
That's not it at all.
Then I don't remember
the Willoughbys or something. That was
that was good. That was good.
That was not a Roald Dahl adaptation at all.
Yeah. All right.
I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, but I didn't see the Twits. It got kind of mixed reviews. So, Dave, any Roald Dahl thoughts?
I'm with you on The Witches.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, other pop culture legacies we have, like, even if you've never seen this movie and don't know what it is, you've probably seen like memes of Willy Wonka saying sarcastic things. And that's become a whole, internet culture thing. There was that ridiculous, sad, like non-licensed Willy Wonka exhibit in Scotland that got a lot of viral videos of how awful it was, when it was a few years ago. I think I personally am a big fan of Veruca Salt, the band, which of course is named after
they were
Veruca
all right.
Salt. Yeah,
all right.
I like them a lot. And although I was disappointed, I don't think they've ever covered her song. And I would love to hear Veruca Salt do the Veruca Salt song.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to happen, guys.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, Jason, do you want to talk about, we've discussed Gene Wilder, as you said in our episodes
number of times
on The Producers and Bonnie and Clyde and Stir Crazy that we did as well. I don't know if we have anything else we want to say about him.
I mean, this is the fourth time he's in the Awesome Movie Year All Hall of Fame after this one, Josh. So, but Jack Albertson, who played Grandpa Joe, has a Tony, an Oscar, and an Emmy. The subject was roses. He's one of 11 people who won a Tony and Oscar for playing the same role. So that's pretty cool. He has an Emmy for Chico and the Man, and he's in the Poseidon Adventure. Peter Ostrum, who played Charlie, turned down a 3-picture deal after this and became a veterinarian. This is the only movie he's in. Good for you, Peter. And then Roy Kinnear, who's Henry Salt, who the teacher, Josh, that you mentioned. He's in Help, How I Won the War, The Three Musketeers.
That's the dad.
Veruca Salt's dad. I know that. Yeah. So, yes. And Violet Beauregard, Denise Nickerson was in The Electric Company and Dark Shadows. The last thing I want to say, and this is very cool, Michael Bollner, who played Augustus Gloop, was largely unaware of its cultural impact until the 90s when fellow cast members reconnected with him via a German newspaper advertisement reading Augustus, show a sign, and now they all go on like the convention tour together.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned those two. Both Peter Ostrum and Michael Bollner never acted in anything else. Michael Bollner became an accountant. And even the other kids who did a little, Julie Dawn Cole, who played Veruca Salt, she had the most extensive acting career, kind of more sporadically all the way into the 2010s and became a psychotherapist. Denise Nickerson was like an office manager after just a few other roles. And Paris Themin, who played Mike TV, became a businessman. So none of these people launched like major acting careers per se. But yeah, I mean, Denise Nickerson, I believe, is has passed away, but the rest of them still are on the convention circuit a lot, and have that essentially can become a career for some people.
As well it should be. That's what we want for our careers. The Awesome Movie Year convention circuit tours.
Who's putting together Awesome Movie Con? That's what we want to know.
It's up to Dave.
I'll go to that.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. You'll be the only
You're in
one.
charge. You're in charge of it, Dave. So
Can I make a quick prediction here?
Sure.
Last night I saw, speaking of things that inspired things, I saw The Wizard of Oz at the Sphere last night.
It's so great, right?
I won't go there.
We
But
agree.
I will make a prediction that this will be the next one. What
I
do you
could
guys
see
think?
that. Absolutely. I think that they could definitely, because they want something that will be an immersive experience. And much like Tom and Jerry doing both of these movies, I think the Sphere will take its cue from Tom and Jerry. And I could absolutely see that.
I'd be down for that. I thought the prediction was going to be, this is going to be the next Steamboat Willie when it gets to public domain and we start getting the real horror movies.
It would. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's going to be even the book I believe is from 1964 and we're just getting public domain stuff from 1930. So you had another 34 years before Willy Wonka's in the public domain.
Start working on the outline, fellas.
It'll take me that long. I feel like we should mention Mel Stuart, the director. This is really his most notable film as a director. He was kind of a journeyman film and TV, did a ton of TV directing and producing, directed all of these or many of those AFI 100 Years TV specials. And movie-wise, I think, Jason, have you seen Watt's Tax, which is like one of these big concert documentaries? I feel like that's something you would have seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I did mark it down as something that I would like to watch. Concert documentary. I'm into it. So
I haven't seen it either, but that seems like his other most famous thing. So anything else you want to say about the legacy of this movie?
You mentioned David Seltzer, the writer who also did, I think he directed The Omen and Bird on a Wire, or wrote those two, and then directed Lucas and Punchline. And then David Wolper, the producer, produced a lot of great miniseries, Roots, The Thornbirds, North and South, and also a film called L.A. Confidential.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. What if Willy Wonka had been in L.A. Confidential?
Oompa, loompa, loompa-dee dirter. I have to go solve an unsolved murder.
Yeah, that was a good ad lib. Not your best one, but I for spur of the moment, I'll give it a thumbs up. So
thank you.
That is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and that is this episode of Awesome Movie Year. You can find our Chocolate Factory online and on social media.
Yeah, chocolate us.
Sure.
I don't know what that means. We're awesomemovieyear.com, Awesome Movie Year on Facebook and the Gram. I'm Jason Harris Comedy, or Jay Harris Comedy, on all those things. Also, the Trivia Party. Also, we have a website now, thetriviaparty.com. Lastly, go for Jason at Letterboxd. It's the golden ticket of Letterboxd accounts.
So true. You can find some old things from me at joshbellhateseverything.com. And one recent thing, I'm at Josh Bell Hates Everything on Facebook, at Signal Bleed on Blue Sky, and on Letterboxd. And if you're on Letterboxd and you watch this movie or any of the movies we talk about on the show, tag your review Awesome Movie Year. We would love to know what you think. And check out our producer, David Rosen's awesome podcast, Piecing It Together.
Check out Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on social media at Piecing Pod.
And thank you to everyone who is listening to this early on our Patreon. If you're listening to this at the end of our 1971 season, we very much appreciate it. If you are listening later on, Dave, how can people sign up for the Patreon to get our bonus episodes?
The Produced by David Rosen Patreon can be found at patreon.com/bydavidrosen. It's got all kinds of bonus and advanced content from Piecing It Together, from Awesome Movie Year, and from my music career. Lots of great content to check out. Again, it's patreon.com/bydavidrosen.
And speaking of great bonus content, Jason, we've got another 1971 bonus episode. What is that?
Josh, we had to do it. We've talked so much about gritty, grimy cop exploitation movies. Let's go to the real deal, Dirty Harry.
So check out Dirty Harry on Patreon or coming up on our main feed. And thanks for listening to Awesome Movie Year.
Thank you for listening to Awesome Movie Year. Make sure to follow Awesome Movie Year on Facebook, at Awesome Movie Pod on Twitter, and at Awesome Movie Year on Instagram. And if you like the show, review us and rate us with 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.